How is your morning? Is it good? Then it's okay. Let's meet. My name is Sergey Atroschenkov. I'm in IT since 2007, not a long time, since 2010. I and management have found each other, but testing is much better. It's cooler during my short career, as I think, because we have Alexander Alexandrov, who is in testing for longer than I am in this world. I've had about 600 interviews of all kinds, and I think that most of the St. Petersburg market personnel was interviewed once by me, and I have worked out certain approaches how to hold interviews which are efficient according to me. I will not cover technical issues, how to know that people know about GUnit, JAO. It is an interesting topic, but there are wonderful reports on that topic delivered at previous conferences. I don't want to be a speaking head. We have just 20 minutes, but we'll spend less. What do you know about the star? Does anyone know anything about star? 3 hands. Хорошо. It's not star. It's an abbreviation, acronym. The material will be boring to you. I'm not going to explore America, but will be interesting to comment on each of the letters. What do you like most in the interviews? Position 1, when you interview someone, what do you like most? Contact. Communication. It's great, it's cool, because when you're an interviewer, you meet people, they are timid, they emit adrenaline, but they're coming with their baggage of knowledge. I live in a big world, be it a small company, be it a big company. I follow my processes, and a person is coming telling what other ways can be used to do the same thing. And I often learn that people were testing things that way at that time. And if you are an interviewed person, what do you like most? Also to communicate. Yes, communicating is great, because an interview is also spend conversations like it is a contest between strange people with predators. People asking questions usually don't listen to answers and tries to explain what is wrong. Or there are persons who have been invited for an interview, you ask them a question. This is why I try to avoid questions. Do you know it? You don't know it. And they try to explain to me why this question can be addressed to a tester, because it's not tester's business to know how IC protocols work. It's not the tester's to know what is inside the browser. You sit and think. The world is a wonderful place. The next interview type: test a pen, test a triangle, test a calculator. Why people are round-shaped? Why people are round-shaped? How an elevator works? Test an elevator. It's a good approach. It can be very well developed, but usually it is limited to things like this is a pen, test it, a pencil, test it, a cup. There is a good video about testing a pencil. The next step of interview is a contest. What is BEG, CI, radio, QA? contest questions usually make people tense because you either know it or you don't know it. You may know a few industry standards, bug, CI, triple E, but a person who interviews has a different understanding of a bug. Bug. Is it masculine or feminine? Who is for a masculine gender, grammatic gender in Russian? Who is for the feminine? There are people, it's a normal thing, it's a regular thing. You never know whether you are asked at the interview. Another thing, why persons are round-shaped, how put an elephant on a pin, how balloons can be put on a bus. Interviewer seems an intelligent person, clever person. He has read the questions in a book and makes conclusions. And the person who is interviewed, he is not in the context of what the interviewer has in his or her head, and he starts answering like name 3 of your strengths, and people usually give 4. I love using the triangle case. Who remembers a classical formulation of a triangle interview? Are you serious? You are very lucky, all of you. Program gives an output whether the triangle does exist. It is a fair one with testers. What basic technique? By the way, as far as I remember, Kanner-Folk-Nguyen book has been reviewed in the book in chapter 2 as a typical interview task. It borders with equivalence. If you offer it to an experienced tester, if a tester is a mature one, he won't become angry with you. If it's a mature one, he will write somewhere that such stupid questions are asked. It is a good problem if you start explaining it. There are different access rights, different service, and speak about IT things, what the person was busy with, what he has to offer, but few people reach those depths. What to do with all these things? A mnemonic right of rule of star AR. By the way, who knows what it means? You've heard about it. Have a look. This acronym, in fact, describes how a question should be asked, interview algorithm on competences. Each competence will help what the person has to offer. Situation, we describe situation, or ask a person to T, task, A, action, specific actions conducted by a person, of person to prove that he can do it, and R, result achieved. In addition, AR, alternative action, alternative result, which can be achieved due to alternative action. Simple, visualized, helps to simplify, to show what you have in your experience if you go to be interviewed. Okay, you were doing functional testing. Think what situation you did it, what tasks you discharged, what specifically you did, not just functional testing. Does any one of you do functional testing? Maybe there are people who are not in functionality. No, they will say, what to do it for? And what result was achieved? It is a very valuable result. It helps if you are interviewed with a company. It helps if you speak to a client. It helps you to describe things. If you participate in so-called pre-sales, to prepare success stories, how you did something, achieved something. And it helps to the interviewers to build their questions according to the algorithm. Let's see an example, a situation. What kind of situation related question can be asked to learn about the situation person was in, like optimization of script test performance, automated test performance, following the star algorithm. How to learn that person was locked in this or that situation. Very close. A good question. I would improve it. Have you been in the situation or not? Persons will answer, yes, I have. I've accelerated script tests. It would be, in my opinion, it would be better to ask a question, quote an example of a situation when you had to streamline auto test speed. A good question, but there is a catch. For I asked what you had to do Docker. A person looked at me with crazy eyes, and he said, "Why do you know that I know a thing about Docker? I have never written about it." He looked at me at a pauper and was right. When you get ready to ask a question on any competence, it is worthwhile testing if a person knows it. The simplest thing is to ask, have you ever been involved in optimizing, streamlining script test speed? If the answer is yes, then it's okay. If it's no, then try to think of somebody else. Task or target. What question can be asked? It's very simple. In reality, it's very simple. What question can be asked? What task or target was faced by a person? It is a very profound question. Why do we test? All the same, it will go untested or will be to be blamed, although it's not correct. Now it's DOs are always to be blamed. What can be asked? We are interested in knowing what task was faced by a person in reality. At work, people work at work. It's a secret, but I'll crack it to you. If we asked, what did you do, he will tell us. And he will tell very profoundly and in detail, but he will be a very sad story at work. Therefore, if we asked to tell a person about the task faced by a person, he will be more difficult to invent. He will find it more difficult to invent stories of what he really did. I will suggest the question to reformulate the question like this: what task did you face? What else can we ask? How were you supposed to accelerate the speed? It will show how deep is the person's knowledge. Next, action. How to clarify what a person did. And what you did to increase the speed. To whom did you address? How did you measure the speed? With whom you communicated? Businesses, analysts, other testers. You'll understand what the person communicates with, and you'll understand how well he will integrate with your company. It will be useful for you to know what structures and how the person worked. It's understandable how the speed was measured to learn about his technological competences. Result. what can be asked about the results. He optimized the speeds, streamlined. Yes, of course I did. I was doing a useful thing. I would ask him, is it okay? That's it. Or did you continue to learn if he tried to know more things, looked at more patterns? What was the end? What did the team said? Not just PM or project manager or the customer. And we are not paid for overtime, and we are no more friends. A friendly team might say. Now let's speak about alternative actions. How else can we test alternative actions? What questions can be asked? What would you do differently in the same situation? It is not about the person's experience, but where the person will go. It will show if you reflect, think, learn lessons on what he did before. People do not reflect always about these obvious things. Perhaps, how specifically? These things are very interesting to ask people. Alternative results. By and large, what can be changed in the results, outcomes? It is very interesting to look at, to understand how deep the knowledge of the person is, and some advice as to what strengths are there and what shouldn't be done. First of all, prepare your questions. Think of what you want to test about writing tests, reports, request optimization, script optimization, test framework creation. Get ready, because when you are unprepared, it looks weird. Listen to the questions, not to look polite. The person is pleased when he is listened to. It's not. Look, when a person answers, it's additional information, additional food for thought used to ask additional questions on the results. Please pay attention to that. Remember about the context. If you want to know how the person worked with Jenkins, test if he knows about Jenkins. Don't ask him about Jenkins if it is not on his CV, and specify the questions. Describe the question when you had to streamline an auto test. Specify what auto tests, how many, what means to. Because in the beginning I had it tough when I used the.
So this is all quite general. So that's why you have to be more specific rather than general. So if you woke up in the night, and you see the answer that you record, that you remember, so you have to be. It has to be very clear to you. You don't have to make it complex. So don't try to catch a person on some mistakes. Don't be responsible or answering for a person. So sometimes you ask a question and you want to answer yourself because you are clever, you know the answer. But you, and in this case, you just ask a question just to boast that you are a smart guy. It's quite pleasant, but it's not the right way. Don't jump from topic to topic, because first topic is this, and then you start talking about something else. And so, one more thing is that you always have a question to which you can answer yes or no. Also, you can ask some social questions. For example, does the team like you? I was the soul of the team. All the company parties were organized by me, so neither of the releases was done without me. So, but it's not the right way to do it. But what has to be done with all that? I will ask you just one thing. So this method sounds quite simple. You have to think about your experience. How could you tell about things you've been doing using this algorithm? So it structures your way of thinking. If you will try to use this algorithm, so this is the real experience, real tasks, and that can be quite interesting. So thank you. Do we have time for questions and answers? No.